most nerdiest thing I have ever done. The nerdiest by far? Well, you'll just have to wait and see. Now that the nerdiness is over, let's get down to brass tacks with a review of a comic by a comic nerd. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna roll with it. The year is now 1978, and many things have happened in that year. We found out that a man could fly in Superman the movie, and we were also still recovering from the awesomeness that was 1977's Star Wars. It also just happened to be the year I was born. Yeah, I'm old. I can still pull it off. Like I said in the title crawl, Spider-Woman #1 came out in a time when many heroines were taking flight in titles of their own. The title, like many new comics at Marvel at the time, was an experiment to see which kind of characters would fly in a brave new decade that saw rampant political change. Marvel saw the untapped market of heroines in their lineup and decided to do something about it, and do something they did as characters such as the Cat and Miss Marvel appeared on the scene and in their own comics. By 1980, we even saw the Hulk's cousin Jennifer become the sensational She-Hulk. And speaking of distaff counterparts, this lady debuted in 1977's Marvel Spotlight 32. Her name is Jessica Drew, and she is the first heroine to be called Spider-Woman. Created by Archie Goodwin and Mary Severin, her creation may not be what viewers and readers of this comic may expect. With a character like Spider-Man running around, then Marvel Editor-in-Chief Stan Lee decided something should be done to prevent another company from coming up with their own Spider-Woman to compete with the webhead. Spidey first appeared in 1962. It's 1978, and only now you decide to corner the market on Spider people? What were you doing in the intervening years, Stan? Oh, right. Creating other characters. Never mind. Carry on. Moving fast, the House of Ideas created Spider-Woman to protect the copyright. Don't think they were being too hasty or anything. DC once sued Marvel over the creation of Wonder Man since Wonder Woman was around. And likewise, they created Power Girl after Luke Cage debuted as Power Man. Marvel was upset, and well, you know how these things turn out. Catfights as far as the eye can see. The next logical step to Spider-Woman's creation was to figure out a way to differentiate her from her male counterpart. Sure, she'll have spider-like abilities, including clinging to any surface, but she does lack Spidey spider sense, and to make up for it, she has the ability to fly. That's right, she can fly. I don't get it either. I'm sure there are some species of spiders that can fly, right? Wow, there's a nightmare for you. Have fun sleeping tonight. Nightmare fuel aside, Spider-Woman was given her own title in April of 1978. Let's see just how different Jessica is from Pete as we swing into Spider-Woman #1. This cover... check out the spotlight on Spider-Woman. I wonder if that's a reference to her first appearance. Oh, I'm just grasping at straws here, aren't I? Can't a lady in bright red and yellow spandex hail a cab in peace? I guess not, as thugs around her point guns at her. One guy fires and is only hitting the side of a building. I thought stormtroopers were the lousy shots around here. We scroll down and the text reads, Special Origin. All the world is against her. Other text on the cover has eye-catching phrases like, now in her own book. The superheroine sensation they said couldn't be done. They should have added, but the marketing department and Stan Lee demanded it. We need to keep that copyright, you know. Last but not least, above the title reads, To know her is to fear her. Oh, kinda like my ex-girlfriend. Our story begins in a London supermarket where Spider-Woman complains about resorting to stealing for food. She fears she has become a scavenger and does not like the prospect of stealing food for the rest of her life. Jess wonders if this is the curse of being a Spider-Woman. Nah, the bigger curse, according to my British friends, is how a cereal called Crunchy Nut keeps disappearing and reappearing on store shelves. Realizing her life may have just become a Lifetime original movie, Jess leaps down from the ceiling, lamenting how her life is in the toilet since she has no job prospects. Her past life is in shambles, and she has no clue who she is, how she got her powers, and other unanswered questions. The questions don't seem to matter as she's hungry, and she's forced to throw helpless cans of tomato sauce in defiance. I like her. Real good tomato sauce is homemade, not canned. Unfortunately, the defiance of her current lot in life gets the attention of a night watchman, and she hides, leaving the man to wonder if it was a rat or something else knocking over the cans. He merrily goes on his way and sets up traps as Spider-Woman watches from the ceiling. This has to be the most unsanitary supermarket in all of London town if they have a rat problem. Still, I think I just found out what's in their mystery meat. The night watchman closes up shop, and our relieved heroine jumps down and says perhaps she should have been caught, and again starts to wallow in her own self-pity. Huh. Well, at least she admits it and kicks down the tomato sauce display? Weird. She says she's finally free, and no one is manipulating her anymore. So, why is she tearing up the joint? Are you okay, Jess? Jess tells herself to calm down as she makes a getaway. Nothing was stolen, and nothing links her to her ever being there, except maybe the cleanup on aisle 12. She says she's finally going to start all over on her own, as she's free of Hydra and the High Evolutionary's control. Wait, what? The pieces are starting to fall into place. Still, I think I would find better ways to celebrate than to just kick over helpless display cans. Once outside, a man startles Jess and demands to know who she is and why she's wearing that costume. Jess explains that she didn't steal anything. The man says his question wasn't answered and says anyone as gorgeous as her must have an answer for the situation. I'm sure. You're right. I'm a former agent of Hydra and I can squish your head like it was a watermelon. That enough of an answer for you, creep? Luckily, Jess doesn't fall for that line and pushes the man away, thinking no one could really believe her origin story anyway. She tries to get away, and our friend here grabs her leg. With her free leg, she clocks the guy in the gut and says stopping her won't be as easy as he thinks. He tackles her and explains how he works for Scotland Yard and unmasks her while saying he's going to take her in. The man says he's seen her face before and Jess runs off, saying he'll never see it again. He looks on as she runs, and it's clear that he's got the hots for her. No means no, dude. The next day, Jess takes a walk in a nearby park, and remarks at how the people around her think she's strange, and that they'd be right in thinking so, because she feels like she's not human, and that makes her more alone than before. Wow, even the old couple she rents the flat from are picking up strange vibes from her. At least the kids in the park were a little more polite. The wife tells her husband that she should be out in the gutter, but the old man feels sorry for such a pretty lass. He can tell she's suffering, and that she can stay as long as she wants. At this point, I'm wondering if Jess has power over old landlords and creepy Scotland Yard officers. Looks like we might finally get some answers as to her origin, as Jess falls asleep wondering who she is, where she came from, and why men seem to be drawn to her for no reason whatsoever. In her dreams, she gets a vision of a man called Mordred the Mystic reaching into her mind to learn the truth. He unlocked the young woman's past and revealed everything to her. Her story begins, as many stories in the Marvel Universe often do, in a lab where science guys are checking out something called a genetic accelerator. One guy says it'll work, and the others say it won't. You must be new here in the Marvel Universe, where mad science works 99% of the time. No one has the right to tamper with evolution, a scientist cries, because he never encountered a mutant. The scientist, now named John, gains the trust of one of his friends. Apparently they both study arachnids, and theorize that since they appeared before man, they'll thrive long afterwards. Someone's been watching The Future is Wild again. John believes that if he could infuse spider DNA onto someone, man could adapt, evolve, and live through tomorrow's polluted landscape. Again, mad science works all the time here. Good thing he's not infusing her with cockroach DNA. Also, I think you can see where the story is going. To test their theories, the scientists, the man's wife, and their young daughter go to a faraway place where they can work on their project in relative peace and quiet. As they survey the land, they quickly find uranium deposits, and the other guy said that they're now rich and irradiated. Hooray! As the months go by, they establish a lab called Wondergore, and Jessica's mom rushes into the lab saying something is wrong with their young daughter. I'm guessing it's radiation poisoning. Just a shot in the dark. Looks like I was right. Thinking fast, his scientist friend puts her into cryostasis to slow down the rate of cellular degeneration. He continues by saying that there's nothing more anyone can do. John explains that there's still one more thing. He injects her with the serum, and sadly, she's not responding.
Huh, I guess she's in the 1%.
Or not. Looks like the process has an incubation period. Of course it does. Silly me. John's assistant exclaims that the accelerator may work on her, and expedites the process. Jess's mom, Miriam, doesn't quite want her daughter to be a guinea pig, or infused with spider DNA or something. Sadly, Miriam passed away, and John disappeared, leaving the assistant to look after Jessica. He reasons that she will live, and continue to have these treatments for a while.
She lives! Faith in Marvel Mad Science restored!
The years passed, and the scientist, as it turns out, became the High Evolutionary. Yeah, the scientist is the same guy who was killing off random people in the New Warriors comic I reviewed. Who knew? The High Evolutionary exclaims that Jessica is now half human and half spider. At that revelation, Jess wakes up saying that once again the vision says she is neither human nor spider. Jess remembers that it wasn't long after her genetic manipulation she left Wondergore after being hated by the animal people that lived there. Judgmental creeps. Not long after getting away, she was captured by Hydra, brainwashed, and eventually freed from their control. Now she's by herself, and people everywhere shun her.
Lady, give people a chance. They're not all grabby like that guy from earlier.
She still says people shun her because she has the blood of a spider in her veins, and it's a deadly curse. Instead of deciding to sulk in the dark, Jess says that as hopeless as it may seem, she has to adjust to the world, despite being changed. The first step, of course, is to get a job.
Hello, Nick Fury? Yes, I'd like a job with you. I'm a former agent of Hydra, and I can tell you all their secrets.
If only that really happened. No, instead she walks down the street like a strong, independent woman of the 70s and marches straight into a job interview. Confident, Jess holds her head high as she's rejected by people saying that there's something off about her. Rude much? At least one guy says that she doesn't have experience. This other lady is just nasty. I get the feeling that the guys like her and the women don't because of her spider-like pheromones. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that explanation. As luck would have it, the man from the supermarket spots Jess leaving an interview. He calls to her saying he just wants to talk, and Jess runs off thinking she can't let her new life end before it begins. Finally fed up with the chasing, our heroine changes into Spider-Woman and says that from now on she fights back. The man finds her and says that nothing was taken from the shop, and Jess says that she doesn't want to be caged. She throws a lamppost at him and realizes she's no murderer, and that's what she'll be if the post hits him. Thinking fast, Spider-Woman leaps and pushes the guy out of the way, saying that she can't let him die. The man, thankfully, is knocked out, and Spider-Woman makes a quick getaway. We skip to a week later, and Jessica is updating her look. Her hair is a great deal longer now, and has decided to make herself harder for the Scotland Yard guy to track her down. To do this, a bit of black hair dye will surely do the trick. She thinks she might become like the heroes in the US with a secret identity and such, but she has no intention of becoming a hero.
A couple more pages say she changes her mind.
While out on patrol and monologuing to herself about how she still has to try and pass for normal, she hears gunshots from Parliament. Rushing to the scene, she finds the cop from earlier being pinned down by a couple criminals. Now's your chance to be a hero, Jess. Hey, it looks like the guy from Scotland Yard actually works for S.H.I.E.L.D. Neat. Maybe he can get Jess a job as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent or something. Better save him quick, lady. Spider-Woman enters the fray after one guy gets zapped. The crooks try zapping Jess, and it turns out her father's serum protects her from any type of radiation. Wasting little time, our heroine zaps a crook with her venom blast, and another British stereotype shoots her for fear she killed his friend. It turns out he was merely stunned.
Yep, totally not being a hero.
She zaps the other guy and quickly rushes to the agent's aid. In doing so, she wonders why she's doing this. Why does she care about a man she never met?
Again, it's called being a hero. So, do we sign you up for the Avengers now? Or do we wait until the 21st century?
Jess discovers that the man is barely alive, and unknown to her, a creep behind her recovered from the venom blast and is slowly advancing on her. She jumps out of the way of the energy blast as if she has a spider sense, which we know she doesn't have. As soon as she lands, she nails the thug with a stronger dose of venom blast. The cops, Bobbies, arrive, and again she contemplates about being stuck in two worlds, while yelling at the Bobbies to stay back since she wants to be able to save the injured man, who, if you remember from the beginning of the comic, tackled her and hit on her. The injured man tries to tell the cops to let Spider-Woman save him. If he doesn't get help soon, he'll die, and Jess can't have that be on her conscience. So what does she do? She throws an unconscious thug at the cops, scoops up the guy, and flies him off to the nearest hospital. It's still amazing how she can do that. You will believe a spider can fly. At the hospital, the man, whose name is Jerry by the way, comes to and finds out that Spider-Woman forces doctors to accept her blood for a transfusion as she insisted that it would ward off the effects of the radiation, and might give him superpowers. Either way, the thieves were rounded up and the day was saved. In fact, the guy told Fury at S.H.I.E.L.D. about the adventure, and Nick praised him. However, something else is on Jerry's mind. He says she saved him, and can't shake the feeling that he knows her face from somewhere. He just can't remember where. He tells his friend that he has to find her, and Jerry doesn't know if it's to stop her or to love her. Our comic then ends with Jerry saying he wants Spider-Woman.
Get in line with the rest of the internet, pal. Let's take a closer look at this comic and her legacy.
Spider-Woman, Spider-Woman. Where do I start with your comic? Well, for starters, I can tell you she is totally not like Peter Parker. The only similarity she may have with our favorite red and blue dressed webhead is that both characters are big on the introspective looks at each other. Both characters, I admit, are very, very hard on themselves. Thankfully, in recent years, she kind of eased up on the whole "do I belong in the human world" thing, and became a stronger character in her original 50-issue run. The story is well written, and I'm glad that Jessica really isn't whiny anymore. Granted, it was a thing in the 1970s for young women to ask where they belonged and who they were. Spider-Woman capitalized on that sentiment and struck a chord with readers. I'm willing to bet that she had a fair amount of young girls reading her adventures too. What I like most about the comic is that it didn't really market itself to any specific gender. It was a simple tale of a lady trying to find herself and have some adventures in the process. It's a win-win scenario for both boys and girls.
See? Comics can be for anyone.
The art here is good for 70s Marvel. It's crisp and clean. I also like how Jessica admits her supposed faults as it shows her human side. It may seem grating to some people, but if you think about all she had been through, you might think she has a bit of post-traumatic stress disorder. This character went through a lot in such a short time, and I think it made the character much more stronger for it. Given time, Spider-Woman, like the other ladies of the Marvel Universe, became a symbol for strong female leads. Not as much as, say, Miss Marvel or She-Hulk. She still strayed enough away from her male counterpart to give her her own identity. It's still a solid tale of a woman trying to find her way after dealing with some harrowing experiences. I give this story a well-deserved thumbs up for being a creative tale at a time when Marvel was trying new things. It worked for a time, and Spider-Woman became so much of a success that she even got her own Saturday morning cartoon. Not bad for a character created just to keep a copyright.
And then comes the retcon.
Recently, Marvel changed up Spider-Woman's origin a wee bit. This time, her mom was hit by a laser beam while Jess was still in her womb, and the laser contained bits of spider DNA. Her parents, who were Hydra agents, vanished, and she was trained by Hydra early on. At least Wundagore is still a huge part of the story. I can't really decide which origin is better, as both are basically the same. She escapes, wonders about herself, and kicks bad guy butt. That's all I really need for this superheroine. She's still a deep character who now enjoys a tremendous boost in popularity. These days, Spider-Woman is back with a vengeance as she was front and center in a crossover event called Secret Invasion. A shape-shifting alien called the Skrull took her place as others from her race invaded. Once the dust settled, the original Spider-Woman returned and was welcomed into the ranks of Earth's mightiest heroes.
There's a shocker.
As an Avenger, she helped the team overcome many adversaries, and hey, she's even had a pep talk or two from Captain America, since she again had bits of PTSD for being held captive by the Skrulls, and her impersonator caused a ton of problems. Oh, and she's been romantically linked to Hawkeye. Nice. I guess this character proves that even after all the self-loathing she had in the 70s, writers made her grow into a strong character that is no longer hung up on who she is or how she even got her powers. Despite bad stuff being thrown at her, be it Hydra or alien impersonation, she still bounces back. I picked Spider-Woman as a subject for the 70s part of the retrospective because she has actually grown to differentiate herself from her male counterpart. Her life was a living nightmare from day one, and nowadays it just doesn't faze her one bit. I just wish her male counterpart grew a bit more, as writers have shown great care in making Spider-Woman grow, and that says a lot. By 2014, Jess got a new solo title written by Dennis Hopeless. Hopeless promised that the character will have fantastic adventures as she goes behind the lines to deal with Hydra and other threats. I'll check it out because I'm very interested in seeing where this character is going. I'll give it a read, and who knows, I might even review it someday. Spider-Woman #1 is still a great adventure, and though there may be a lot to process, it's still a great introduction to a character who, despite being in limbo for years, is now enjoying a tremendous resurge in popularity. Out of all the female supers introduced in the 70s, I think Jessica is probably my second favorite heroine after Miss Marvel. Don't worry, there's no rivalry between these two. They're good friends, and have actually become quite the double act, and Jessica is a good role model for anyone trying to fit in a world that doesn't really understand them. In the end, she finally did, and found a place amongst Earth's mightiest heroes, and like it or not, Spider-Woman, you are now a hero. With a new lease on life, and a new title on the horizon, you definitely have not heard the last of Jessica Drew, the first Spider-Woman.
Spider-Woman is a classic character, and I'm glad she's back in the limelight. Check out her story at any fine comic store. You won't be disappointed. Until next time, I'm Seafarer, and
I am from beyond. Slay your enemies, and you shall be rewarded. Nothing you dream is impossible for me to accomplish.